Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy Mike Summers, Major Linux, MajorExploit.com, and just got finished wrapping up a wonderful stream, episode number 268 of the Major's House show, where I was doing a myriad of things. I was kind of showing off some stuff on the Linux server that I wanted to take care of. Also play some of that PC building simulator on Steam. But I felt like I should come back and kind of explain a little bit more what was going on with the issue I was trying to tackle in Linux during the stream, which we kind of touched on what the issue was and kind of what caused the issue and how to fix it. But it was kind of, it's a hodgepodge because it kind of jumped between multiple things because a lot of time I had to wait to see what was happening. It's like I had theories as to what it was, but because I want to do other things, I figured I'd wait as opposed to kind of rush it and then kind of verify. Also wanted to see what it actually was. So to start off, for those who did not go to the stream, the issue was I was starting to see some messages in my mail server when I was kind of diagnosing another issue. I was kind of taking a look to see what was going on with another server, why I was not receiving any email, and that's when I ran across some weird messages in the mail log for the mail server. So I was seeing the issues, but I'm going to go ahead and search for it to kind of get a more pinpointy reference here. So as you can see here, it was almost like clockwork in a way. Like every hour, on the hour, I was receiving an email from this IP address being addressed to MajorLinux@MajorSauce.com. Now, for those who don't know, years ago, that actually used to be my email address on my mail server before I figured out how to use virtual mailboxes and then create Marcus@MajorSauce.com. Major Linux was the username of the server at the time, and I was only able to use Postfix, which is an SMTP server, to utilize user-based accounts as opposed to virtual mailboxes, which would allow me to create infinite accounts using infinite domains, similar to how you have Apache have virtual domains. So you can have multiple domains pointing to one IP address. You can serve multiple websites from one machine. It's a similar concept where not only can I have multiple domains answering to one IP address for mail, I can also create infinite number of mailboxes from those infinite domains that I could possibly put in there. It's crazy. I'm not sure who would want to do that, but here I actually have the capability of doing so using Postfix and virtual mailboxes. So upon creating the virtual mailbox, I got rid of Major Linux and went to start using Marcus because I felt like it was more professional. I could easily have my name at my website as opposed to my online pseudonym. So I was receiving and I actually stopped using that years ago. So it was kind of weird that in the year of our Lord 2019, several years later, I was receiving mail to this address. Or it wasn't weird. It was not weird because I've been using it for a while, and because this address could be associated with multiple email links or email leaks, where my email address was in some database. It got distributed to multiple nefarious actors, and then I got on some weird mailing lists because of it. But I had not used this mail address in a while, so whenever that happened years ago. The thing is, I was getting it from this specific machine, or this specific machine, this IP address 99.14.146.128, which to me is a very very specific machine that was sending me this email, because although it's not shown here, it is actually the IP address of home.majorsauce.com. It is the Linux server that I have. It's a Linux server that I use for Plex, my RTMP stuff, once I get it back up and running. So it was weird that I was seeing this IP address. Like, I was seeing mail coming from this IP address. Why is it coming from this machine? This machine was created in 2019 when I was no longer using this email address. So why is it sending it here? So instead of going into home.majorshouse.com and trying to dig through countless amounts of information to figure out what it was that it was sending me, or what program it was that was generating these emails that I wasn't receiving, I figured I would go another way. Going back to when I was going back to the Postfix virtual mailboxes, you can also create something called aliases, which allow me to create, you know, these fake names that will kind of route mail from what other computers would think would be email addresses to an actual mailbox. So it's kind of like, you know how when you go, the shows back in the days, like, yeah, if you sent a self-stamp mailed envelope to blah, 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 care of blah, 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 it's kind of like that. Whereas like you send it to a big place, but it actually is getting funneled to a small place. And I'll go ahead and take you over there and show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to go into Postfix. This is the, again, this is SMTP server that I use for Major's house. And we're going to take a look at this file here, the vmail aliases. This is where you can set up aliases that get routed to actual mailboxes. Granted, some of these mailboxes, while they exist, they are no longer active. But as you can see here, I've got multiple addresses that get pointed to one or two different mailboxes. So like see Xbox, London, Paris, Italia, Asia. These are my nieces, except for I don't have any same Xbox. But here are addresses that don't actually exist. They do not have mailboxes, but they are being pointed to an actual mailbox. These mailboxes don't exist. These are the aliases for this actual mailbox. So if I'm over to email xbox@majorshouse.com, it get pointed here. I'm not sure why that exists, but it does. I have these set up for my nieces for their tablets. So I was able to create Amazon accounts for them, and I have them pointed to my email address. So that way, if they even try to do something, and they don't get these emails, they don't even know. I would be surprised if they knew these emails existed. I get notifications as to what's going on their tablets, and I can let their grandmother know, hey, they're doing something bad. As you can see, we've got something set up for a bot, Extra Life Raleigh Durham, and there's some other stuff here. Also then creating one for my son, so that way you're not going to try to do some stuff. So what I decided to do here was create an alias or recreate the alias. I actually used to have one when I was trying to switch from Major Linux and Marcus. I actually created an alias for my old email address and pointed it to my new one. That way, I wouldn't miss emails coming in. And that way, like as soon if I got one that said Major Linux at majorshouse.com, I can go into the account that was using it, change the email to the new one, and then like the amount of mail that was being sent to Major Linux at majorshouse.com would go down. Number would go down. So what you do is you go into alias, you put it in there, and then you want to post map it. So what postmap does is it takes this file and translates it into this .db file. What this DB file do, what that will do is we do a postfix reload. Let's reload. What that does is it restarts postfix, so it's almost like a service postfix restart. It does the same thing, and it takes all these .db files that were mapped using postmap for all these files. So you can see you got vmail aliases, vmail domain, vmail mailbox, and they've got DB versions of the same files. Postmap takes this file, creates this, and then postfix reload or service postfix restart takes these files and plugs it into postfix for the configurations. That way, you know, postfix knows what to do when mail comes in. So I did that. So I did that about 4 o'clock, but as you saw, if you don't remember, at 5 o'clock, I still ran into a similar issue. So I ran into an error. So I needed to figure out, why is it not working? So there's obviously an alias set up somewhere because I have them set up for multiple other things. Or actually, I think I do. I actually need to, or at least I thought I did. So I went to go see where the aliases were being plugged in. So I looked at the file main.cf. Now that's the main configuration file for Postfix. I will show you that file, but there is very, very critical information in that file that should not be let out. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grep for the word alias in main.cf. And actually a whole bunch of stuff shows up in regards to alias. Most of it commented out because I'm not using it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grep out all of the comments to get, so just clear that up, to get the information I need. So all of these are currently being used by Postfix as configuration for the server. So, like I said, I can use this alias maps, but that's not what I want. What I want is the virtual alias maps. Now, where is that going to? So as you can see here, it's using the MySQL protocol, and it's loading up information from this file. Now I can show you what that file is, but again, it is loading MySQL information from this file, which means there is a MySQL database, username, password that's in that file that you don't need. Essentially what I did, and what I forgot that I did when I was initially going through this, is I set up Postfix to pull configuration data from a MySQL database. This would allow me to be able to easily change passwords using a little plugin for my web app that I have for my mail, just in case when more people start using Major's house, they want email services, there is a way for them to go and change their password if they need to. So if I go reset their password, I can give them the default, I can give them the dummy password, they can go in, log in, and then change the password online without having to consult me for that. That way I don't know what their password is. So I go in, I figure out that information, and then I actually go log into the SQL database. So, taking a look in here, let's see what databases we have. And we have the mail server database. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to use that one. And let's see what we have in here. Oh, goody. We actually do have a virtual aliases table in the mail server database. So what we want to do is actually take a look and see what's inside here. So we're going to do a select star from virtual aliases. My SQL is not the best in the world, or my SQL knowledge is not the best in the world. So yeah, I'm going to fumble through it as I try to remember what's going on. All right. So as you can see here, I've now pulled up my alias table. And what I did notice before, because I actually shot this multiple times, is that these are actually tied to the other databases through primary keys, whatever, primary keys, foreign keys, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna actually explain what all these mean, because I actually got caught up in previous videos and I just couldn't understand why things didn't work. We have our primary ID here. We have a domain ID. We have a source and we have a destination. So primary ID is like, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah. Domain ID is actually referencing what's in the virtual domains table. So if we pull that up, I actually have two domains that are actually here. The blacknote.net, I'm actually going to need to get rid of that because that domain is no longer pointing to anything that we have. It was for a customer I was working with, but they backed out. So that's neither here nor there. But those are the two domains I have to choose from. Now, if I have more domains, I can actually use more. I can actually have higher domain IDs. But right now, I only have the choice of 1 and 2 for domain ID. The source, obviously, as you can see in the virtual aliases table, is the alias, and the destination is where that email will go to. If somebody were to email alias@majorshouse.com, it will go to marks@majorshouse.com. So what you do from here is, and I'm actually going to do, we're just going to do reverse search, but I've done so many of this. As you can see, yep, I have deleted things as a test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert into a table a second entry using the first domain, which is majorsauce.com, with the alias account being Major Linux at majorsauce.com as a source, and a destination as Marcus at majorsauce.com, which is the actual mailbox. Enter that in, and then we can do show the virtual aliases again, and we can see that now we have a new source. We have a new alias account that's created using Major Linux at majorsauce.com as a source, and a destination as my actual email address. So what happened was, because we totally found out what that email was, what it was is I set up a cron job on Major Home to download giant bomb videos, and it does that on the hour, every hour. Essentially what it was the cron job, upon completion, was emailing Major Linux the account that the cron job was running on. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunate. Either way, I had Postfix running on Major Home with a domain configured to majorshouse.com. So when cron was emailing to let Major Linux know that the cron job had completed, it was emailing Major Linux at majorshouse.com as opposed to Major Linux at localhost or Major Linux at home.majorshouse.com. So because it was doing that, Postfix was handling the email being sent out. It was sending to mail.majorshouse.com, trying to look for the user Major Linux, and that account didn't exist. So all those emails kept getting bounced back. So essentially what we learned here was there are multiple ways to figure it out. There are multiple ways to figure things out. I mean, you can either try to go and try to kill whatever it is, or in my case, sometimes you have to let things in order to figure out what it is. I'm trying to keep this as like a metaphor for life, but sometimes, I mean, there are issues or annoyances that are going to happen to you. But sometimes you kind of have to let that thing happen. You have to let the thing happen. You have to see it through to the end. Kind of like let it have its entire spiel here. Sometimes you have to invite that trouble in order to kind of get a better understanding of what's going on here. You can only fix the situation if you actually get to see the whole situation. Like, I would not have been able to figure out what was hammering my mail server until I actually let the email in. It's like, okay, that's what that is. Now I can either go turn it off or I can just ignore it. Ultimately, I need to turn it off. I don't need that notification, and it's just wasting data. And granted, it's like a few bytes of data or a few kilobytes of data that's just going through, just hammering at my server. It's like, yeah, this account doesn't exist. What are you doing, you idiot? But yeah, so that's that. That's how I solved that problem. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a convoluted issue for you. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to let my cohort here, the guy you can see, give you some more information on what you can do, where you can find more of this wonderful, beautiful, beautiful content. Until next time, peace out. Oh, what? Oh, hold on. Give me a second. Give me. Oh, sorry about that. Well, I hope you really enjoyed what you just saw. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, for clicking the video. Of course, if you'd like to see more of this dope content, we'd love to support the channel. Definitely hit that subscribe button below. Click that bell icon so you can be notified of more content that we produce here. Also, click the boxes. They're here. They should be here now. I don't know if they're not, if they are, but definitely click these boxes here. Take you to more wonderful content that we produce on the channel, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed. So, yeah. Till then, peace out.